Alright, hey, I was at work and I was working on a machine and I was thinking, hey, wouldn't it be really nice if I could access the data in this file? Because it seems like I'm retyping information that I don't have to type. Now, this is a very small piece of information, so I mean, it's not going to really do me much good at work, but I mean, I figured this would be a small little type of file that I could work on to show you guys how, I would, deal with a file and write a new file or something like this to that effect. So yeah, this would be for my coworkers, and then otherwise, people can just see how I would go about it. Now, again, just to re-stress, I am not a professional programmer or anything like that. Actually, by trade, I'm really nothing. I came out of high school, did some college with some trade work, not computer science or anything like that. And then, I kind of dropped out of that. Computer science was just a hobby. Video games was a hobby. Computers, because video games are made on computers, eventually it brought me into computer science, and that's just a hobby. And I have, kind of low-level programming skills, which are not formally trained, but rather self-taught as a hobby. Okay. Now, what I'm told by actual programmers is if you're going to reverse engineer file structure, one thing you want to do is you want to disassemble the executable and then rip out the functions or absorb the functions that the disassembler picked out of the executable, and you save yourself work or something this way. I don't know any of that stuff, so I'm just going to show you about observing physical structures and stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, so we have a file here that I grabbed from the machine, just copied to the USB pen. Very simple. We can see in here we have some sort of gap and then some sort of pattern. So let me explain to you what was on the machine that I was working on. So there's a circuit board that has to go through the oven. So it's a flat, rectangular object. Okay, and then we have positions on that rectangular object, in which we're going to measure temperature at that that rectangular object. So the information I have to type in is the dimensions of that rectangle, which is the width and length, and then the positions on which I want to do the testing at. So we store only 3 pieces of information. That is the comment of where you're going to designate that, I guess. So you can say you have position 1, position 2, position 3. So it's like a designator. It's a designator. And then you have your X and Y position, and then Z is omitted, so you only have X, Y. So reference X, Y. So I wrote down just on a piece of paper what I was looking for. So the notes that I just collected together from the piece of paper that I wrote. So I wrote down the panel dimension. So I'm expecting to find this number, and then I just wrote down 2 of the references. There is more than that. You can see them here. We have D4, C4. Now it looks to me from looking at the program is you can go from 1 to 15. You can't go more than 15. I mean, storing these references. It's weird because it shows it in a spreadsheet, and for some reason, the ones that are typed in will be active, and the ones that are not typed in are inactive. But the curious thing is that in the bottom row, it said battery internal, but they were unactive. So I'm not sure where battery internal came from. I think it was left over in the RAM, and it carried over. And even though it was not active, it was still left there, I guess. Which is curious because when you activate it, battery then becomes the actual designator, which is bizarre. So there must be like some sort of value that says you're going to be enabled or disabled. And we should see that somewhere around on this line or something like that. Anyway, some of the notes I collected here as well is the program form that I was working with. It saves the values to whatever you select. So if you want to change it from millimeters, you select millimeters or inches or mil or whatever. I can't remember what it was, but there's a lot. There was a lot in the drop-down menu, and what it did, it would like if we want to do millimeters, you select millimeters, and then you can type in millimeters. Or if you're going to type in centimeters, you select centimeters on the drop-down, and you just type in all centimeters for all your values. Now, I don't know if you type in a centimeter, and when you save, does it save a centimeter? Or does it save it in millimeters, but then save a flag that says, we're going to convert this into millimeters? That I don't know. Now, there was mil and inches. I believe the conversion factors are like this, times 10,000 or times 2.54. I can't remember. So we might not see the value here, and so we'll just have to kind of sniff it out. So yeah, and as far as I understand the structure here, like for example, I kind of ignored this part because this part kind of looks confusing, but let's just look at the pattern here because the patterns are kind of easy to work with. So yeah, these are repeating patterns. Okay, so they're easy to spot. We know D4 is the first reference designator. We don't know where D4's information begins or ends. So I'm going to look at here and we can see, oh, this kind of precedes it, right? So we can kind of see that there's a pattern here. Okay, so there's a pattern in this row, but no pattern in this row because it discontinues here. And so I looked at this and I'm like, this is kind of weird kind of thing here. So this is the way I perceived it. Okay, so we have 1940. I don't know what it means. It could just mean that it's saying to the machine, this data is this data. Okay, and then I'm pretty sure this is a size. So these 2 bytes indicate the size. So we have C, and then we travel C across. You can see down here C, or otherwise you just go like this C, and then you're past that position. And the same structure repeats itself. So we have 1A50. I don't know what that means, but it's probably saying hello to the machine. And then we have 8, and then we go 8. Okay, and then we're at the next one. And it repeats, and so forth and so forth. So I've been writing these down. So this is what I have thus far. So I don't know what these mean. So as far as I know, this could actually be the X, and this could be the Y. Yeah, and then it probably repeats after that. So let's see what we got here. So this is 8. That's 8. So we have, okay, this is strange. So we have this is saying it's 1, which is kind of ridiculous. So that would be 1. But that's ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous. What is this? Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous. Okay, so the first thing this is 1. That's 1. This is going to be wrong. Okay, so we see this is totally freaking wrong. Let me loop it back over and let's have a look. Okay, so this actually stretches. I think it stretches all the way over here. Yes. Yes, it does, I think. I think it does. I think it does. Okay, so this is a little bit curious. So, the size maybe is not actually required. This is strange. The whole thing is about 10, 16, I suppose. There's 10 there. So, I mean, it's messed up. So, for example, it's telling us that the type is obviously 1F, but the size rather here, it must be 10. Because we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, maybe not. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And that comes out to be 14, right? So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so maybe it works this way. So we got 1F, and there's a special structure here, which is the the size maybe, and then we have the count. I don't know, and then it's 10 bytes. I don't know. Okay, so what we can kind of maybe base this off of is that the first character is going to be, or the first number, sorry, is going to be the type. Okay, and then we're going to have a special like way of reading that, because damn, I don't really understand this. This was all like nice and standardized until we got here, man. Oh well, whatever. We can make it work. And so this information here doesn't change; it just is all the same. So I would say, well, over here we have index. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3. I don't even know what that means. So this might be the flag for, is it millimeters, inches, So it looks like if it's inactive, then it's either FF or something like this. Okay, perfectly fine. So this all makes sense. Damn, okay, so we're going to have to kind of have all the different types written into here. Well, that sucks. That really does suck. Okay, so, for example, the way you would write this is you have, I'm not even sure how you would do this. Okay. Well, yeah, so, for example, I would do a case, and then you would do something in here like int do of, I guess, and then you would put your case statement in here. So I guess if the value is 1f, then you're going to do whatever. So you're going to skip how many bytes? You're going to skip 14 bytes or something like this. So I guess that's how you would go through it, I guess, as you're looping through the data, I suppose. So I basically have to keep looping through it. So the way you do it is, like, I guess in a programming sense, because I'm starting to talk about programming right now, but you're going to program it. What you're going to do is you're going to read for an ID, and then you would want to skip whatever it is that you think it would skip by. And if you failed to skip it, then, for example, we were supposed to read 16, but let's say by accident we read 50. Okay, so that just means 50 is an unsupported number, and you keep reading until you hit a supported number, I suppose. The best way I can think. And then, like, oh, here's a 15 or something, and you continue reading or something like that. And then in another case is like you never hit 16, you hit something different, and you connect with that one. So yeah, it's not exactly that tidy, but anyway, this file is very small, so I mean it would be easy to implement something like that. So great. So I kind of understand how to read the structure now. Like, I mean, how am I going to program it? So for that to work, I need to understand what types there are. Like, what is 1f, right? And you could say that is the index. You can say 1f data index, basically. That's only information that looks dynamic or changes. And this one we don't know. So I assume that where was I? So this is the yeah, so we're over here. Yeah, so that's the ID here for the reference, and then we come up with this ID. This is probably the length. Wait, how did I write that down? So it's probably going to ask for, or the number is supposed to be this, I guess, and it's 8. So we kind of have to think, like, what data type is 8 going to be? So it's either like going to be something ridiculous, like, for example, we can turn on 64-bit integer, which is going to be just insane. Like, I don't think they would use that. That's a little bit insane. Or probably it's like a float. So this is we have float here. Let's turn on a double, which is a 64-bit float. We get some other value here. Okay, we're gonna bring up the calculator because I kind of expect there to be some sort of like weird file converter thing. So let's see here. So 24.78 times 0.54. No, that wasn't it then. 0.78 divided by 0.25, 2.54. Oh, there we go. Bingo! Okay, but that's the wrong number. So I guess it would be 24.78 divided by 0.254. No, that wasn't it. Shit. Okay, sorry. So 24.78 divided by 25.4. There we go. Just make sure I got that right. Yeah, okay. So in this notation here, we are negative power 1 or something like that. So it would actually be 0.975, blah, 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 blah. In which case, that's what this is. So it's 25.4. I think, is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so Dan, okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna word this. Okay. So type 19 is the reference. Okay, how are we going to describe this? We're going to describe this as type as int 8. We have int 8 just say unknown, and we have we'll just say int 16, and that will actually be the length. And we have string, and this is going to be the length. Okay, so that's kind of how you would, I guess, do the structure, I suppose. Something like that. And then we have the other ones. So this is going to be 1A, I suppose. Yeah, so this is, yeah. Okay, so this is going to be equals, no, wait, what am I doing? We'll just say this one is the x, no, this is the length, length, and that would be basically the same thing. And then this is going to be a float 64, and that's going to be the length. That's confusing. Because we're going to change this to size. Size. This is length. Okay. And then there's a conversion there, so we're going to just make a note. Is it like that? I don't remember. Whatever. We're going to make a note, and the note is that we take n times, or wait, no. Wait, how do I do this? Okay, so if I want to get my value back, I just go times 25.4. Yeah, so it's going to be 25.4. That's the conversion to millimeters. Okay, what we're storing it in, I think we're storing it in inches. Yeah. So this is inches. So to get it into millimeters, we'll do that, which is fine. So we'll, whatever you want to keep it in. So I believe it's always storing in inches, and then over here in that other line where you see 3, this tells us that it's millimeters. Otherwise, if it's something else, 2 might stand for mils or something like this. So if I was really interested in to what's going on, I would have to do some more kind of checking and stuff and tweaking to see, you know, what the value change does. So I'm not really going to do that, but yeah. So this is where we're at. And so this is the same thing for 1B. So this is the same thing. This is just the width, and this is width. Okay. Then of course, if you wanted to figure out the other ones, I suppose, like if I had to like rewrite this file, and you'd want to do more stuff, like for example, this other stuff here. I think in this is another file that I saved. You can actually store a comment. There's a size restriction on it. It seems to be that it cut me off at a certain size, but anyway, you have room there to put a comment for whatever reason. So you could also apply that also. You can do really whatever you want, I guess. Just keep poking around in the file. So probably if I was going to write a new file, is I would save a file with my program, and that would be my template file. And then and that way it's sort of easy. There's nothing dynamic in here. At least it doesn't appear to be, because you know these two files that I saved are the same size exactly. So you just can use static addresses. So you can say, okay, so go to this address 5C, write the comment, and your comment can only be so big, so you don't overflow. And then if you want to do reference whatever, then you have to obviously write the index, and it has to be a non FFFF value. If it's not used, then you FFFF it, and then I believe the data is just disregarded. So yeah, writing a program for this is not complicated, because we are able to benefit from static addressing and stuff like that. But if you want to be more dynamic, it'd be a little more difficult, I would think. But yeah, so those are the 3 pieces of information that we needed: reference, X, Y, and then also oh, you know what? I'm missing the total board dimension is I'm also missing actually. So we can we can do some math on that, obviously. So my board dimension, because now we figured it out. I believe it was the other way around, so it's like 134.77. And then I think, okay, I forgot. Divide point, no, 25.4. And so that's the value I'm looking for as a double. So go through here, search float point value. It's actually a double, and then we'll search. Okay, so it's okay. It's super confusing. So it's saying my value corresponds to the hexadecimal value of blah blah at this address. So that's all they wanted to know. So it's at 15C, which is here. Okay. So this tells me that this is the amount. It looks super confusing. So 16 is the, I guess, the width. How do you over? This is gonna get super confusing because I got this confused. This is actually X, and this is Y, and this is X, and this is Y, and then that then makes this width. Oh man, I'm tired but chilly. Okay, so this is actually that goes in here, in there. All right, so we can kind of like extrapolate from that. So I mean, it should be around here, right? Obviously. So 8. So okay, so 17 then. So yeah, okay, so this is probably this is probably a length. Length. Okay. And that's obviously 17 because I screwed it up. Okay, so there it is. So those pieces of information that we needed for my notes. So it was the overall dimension, and then the references, and then repeated. Okay. So we have that pretty much solved. So now if I wanted to, I can write a program for this. And so the idea would be is I have a similar file that stores the values. I do some extra math to extrapolate those values. It's possible. And then I write a new file, and then I just take the template file and then fill out or overwrite these addresses to fill it out with the other pieces of information. And then I'm all set to go. Okay. So I'm not going to do any programming. This took long enough. Just explaining, how to figure out some of the key values and stuff like that. Excuse me. I think I'll go through. Wait, what is 1F? Oh. Yeah, it's something different. I'll probably have to figure that out later. But yeah. I'll do the programming in another video because the programming, obviously, I guess a little more complicated. So anyway, thanks for watching, and have fun out there, guys.